Larry Pettit, President of Carillon Financials Corp. What I'd like to do today is demo a new feature that was put into Carillon 2014, which is a completely new version of our pop-up windows. Pop-up windows are used to select items within the system, and I have the inventory item maintenance window up right now. You'll notice that there's some yellow fields. Any field that's yellow you can double click with the mouse, or you can press your F2 function key and that brings up a pop-up. I'm going to start out this presentation by showing you briefly how old pop-ups work, and the only reason I'm doing that is so that I can show you that if you want to use new pop-ups the exact same way, you can do that. However, I think you're going to find that some of the features in new pop-ups are definitely worth using and that your users will like them. Then I'm going to spend some time showing you how you can customize user pop-ups and how even the individual user can do that. Again, that functionality where users can define their own pop-ups has been completely rewritten. So let's get started. I'm going to start by double-clicking on the producer ID field here, and that is an old pop-up. Pop-ups, when you double-click, always come in sorted by the second column. If you want to sort based on any other column, all you've got to do is click on the column heading. You can type in as much as you want of a partial ID and it'll jump to that. I've only got 2 records here, so it's not showing you jumping to that, but it would. And then you can double-click to return a value. And you'll see that the new pop-ups you can work exactly the same way. Now I'm going to go ahead and double-click on the item ID field. And this is an example of a new pop-up. Now, first thing you might want to notice is that it's wider. And the new pop-ups will dynamically grow wider depending on the columns that you have defined for that particular pop-up. So the pop-ups can use the full width of your screen if you have that many columns defined. But to use it just like an old pop-up, you'll notice that it comes in, it's sorted by the second column. I can type in as much as I want of a partial ID and hit tab, and then I can double-click to return it. So if I want to use new pop-ups exactly the same way I used old pop-ups, I can do that. However, there's some new functionality. You'll notice this little arrow next to the item description. That indicates that I'm sorted by the second column. If I click on that column heading, now I'm sorted in descending order, and if I click again, I can turn off the sort. I can also sort based on multiple columns. So I can sort first based on item description and then based on item ID. And I could do one ascending and one descending. I can sort on as many columns as I want, ascending and descending, and it'll keep track of what order you told it to sort. Now, if you do want to turn off the sort on item description, you do have to click it a couple times to go ahead and make the arrow go away so that it's not sorted by that. And then it will be sorted by item description. Now, I'm sorted by item description here, but I only want to see items that start with the letter T. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a T. One thing that you might find confusing is typing a T in here doesn't mean that this column is going to be sorted by what I typed in. It just means that it's only going to get records that are greater than or equal to what I typed in. So you'll notice that my item description is not sorted alphabetically. In fact, it's not sorted at all. It's sorted by item ID. So just keep in mind that as you type in partial values in the different columns, and I could also say I only want items to start with a T. So keep in mind as you start typing in partial values, is what it's telling the pop-up to do is go get records that are greater than or equal to that value. If you want to sort based on that column, then you need to go ahead and choose to sort based on the column. So now I'm sorted by item description. And again, you can double click and bring back a value. Now, I'm going to go ahead and double click again because there's a few more things I'd like to show you. The like functionality works just like it always has. If I want to go get all of the records that have 2 by 8 anywhere in the middle of the description, I can type in 2 by 8 and click like, and it'll go find all of the items that have 2 by 8 in the middle of the description. Let's double click again. Now, the other thing you can do in new pop-ups, which sometimes worked in old pop-ups, but if I type in a partial ID, so let's type in base and hit tab, I can go ahead and without moving my cursor, without touching my mouse, I can go ahead and arrow down or arrow up or page down or page up. So all of that functionality works, and whenever I hit enter, no matter where I am in the pop-up window, it's going to go ahead and return the current row that I'm on. So we made it much more user-friendly to use the pop-up without a mouse. Okay, to change the sort order, you can click the column headings, as I told you before, but you can also use your function keys. So if I want to change the sort order for this first column, item ID, I can go ahead and press my F1 function key and it'll go ahead and change the sort order. Or I can press my F2 function key to change the sort order of the second column. Or my F3 function key to change the sort order of the third column. Hopefully you get the idea. So that's another way you can change the sort order without using the mouse if you're a person that likes to or prefers to use the keypad. Now, I'd like to go ahead and take you into another pop-up. I'm going to take you into the voucher entry pop-up and double-click on voucher number. Actually, I'm going to close this background window in the first. So I'm going to double-click voucher number, and you'll notice this pop-up has some lots of columns and some interesting features. I've got a date field that's a column. I've got a checkbox that's a column. And I've got a numeric field that's a column. So I can type in partial values in all of those column headings also. For a checkbox, you're going to type in a Y or an N, and it's going to, Y is checked and N is no. And you'll also notice that the heading up here changed. Since I could look up vouchers by branch, if I have branch functionality turned on, I now have a drop-down that shows me my branches. I can choose the branch, and it'll only bring in vouchers for that particular branch. Since this is a transaction, I could also have unapproved transactions, which I don't have right now, unapproved, approved, or both. So you have that functionality, which you had in the old system, in the old pop-up system also. So again, I can go ahead and type in a partial ID. It jumps to that. I can also go ahead and type in values. So if I wanted to see only vouchers for $130 or greater from this particular, from any address that starts with roof, I could do that. So notice that we have the dates and checkboxes and decimal fields also. Now when you're typing in a date, you're going to do year, month, day. So you'll have a 4-digit year, a month, and a day. And we did that so that it would sort properly also. So if you're sorting, it'll sort based on year, month, and day. Now the next thing I'd like to show you is I've been showing you pop-ups with system parameters the way they've been probably set up in your organization. Some of these features I'm about to show you have existed before, but we recommended people not use them for performance reasons. However, we're taking away that lack of a recommendation at this point, and we're actually actively recommending that you change your system parameters. So I'm going to go up to System Parameters, Overall System Parameters, and this is probably something that everybody in your organization can't do. You probably have one lead person in your organization that's allowed to change system parameters. And let me also suggest that we don't normally suggest that you change system parameters without calling us first, because you can do some pretty good damage to your system. But in this case, these parameters are going to be safe to change. Now these system parameters are going to affect the way everybody uses the system in your organization. So they are global, they change the way the system works for everybody. So I opened up overall system parameters, and now I'm going to go to pop-ups. And now I'm going to go ahead and choose these two checkboxes. And I'll show you what they do in a second. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Get an update was successful. And then when you change a system parameter, it doesn't become active until you completely exit the system and come back in again. So I'm going to go ahead and completely exit. And then I'm going to go ahead and start the system back up again. So now I'm going to go ahead and go into that voucher pop-up again. And you're going to notice it works a little different. So if I type in Bell, for example, B-E-L-L, I didn't have to hit tab, I didn't have to do anything. As I type in each character, it actually goes and retrieves values from the database that'll go ahead and match that value. So it doesn't do a greater than or equal to anymore. If I page down over here, you're going to see that it stops at Bell Supplier. So with those system parameters, it matches what you've typed in. It doesn't do greater than or equal to anymore. So if I wanted to see everything from Bell Supplier that was for $1.99, I could go ahead and do that. So this gives you a lot more functionality as far as narrowing down to exactly what you want to see and doing it a lot faster. Likewise, you could type in a date. So I can go ahead and type in 2010 03, and it'll go get all of the items for March of 2010. So you've got a lot more, you're going to go find the items that you want a lot faster with this functionality turned on, in my opinion. So I would suggest you go ahead and do that when you get, as you load Carillon 2014 or later. So I'm going to go ahead and click Close. And now I want to show you some user parameters that we've added to the system. So I'm going to go up to System, and I'm going to go to User Interface Maintenance. And this is something that everybody in your organization has rights to. You actually can't take away rights to this window. So everybody can, every user in the system can go ahead and go into User Interface Maintenance. And in the past, they've been able to go ahead and change their colors, which they can still do. But we went ahead and added some additional functionality. They can indicate how many pop-up rows should be displayed in their pop-ups. I've got mine set to 40. And a new parameter is you can set the maximum pop-up width. Now, the system ships with a pop-up width that'll work with a screen resolution of 1280 as the width. And that's because Carillon requires a minimum of a 1280 resolution for many of the windows to work. So we set the pop-ups to have a maximum pop-up width of that works with a resolution of 1280. And that's what this 5800 means. The 5800 number is kind of meaningless. It's just a relative number. But if you're a person like I am that works in a screen resolution of 1920 or even greater than that, you can play with this maximum pop-up width so that you can see more columns in your particular pop-ups. So that's new functionality that just got added for Carillon 2014. Now I'd like to spend some time and show you how you can change a pop-up. And I'm going to go ahead and start out in the user definable pop-ups. This is another window that every user in your organization has rights to, so they can go ahead and change their own pop-ups. Now, I'm going to go back to voucher entry here for a second. If I double click on voucher number, you're going to notice that this is pop-up 1335. You know, actually I'm going to go ahead and change my mind. I'm going to go ahead and work with the contact pop-up. So I'm going to go into contact maintenance. Close my voucher entry window, double click on contact ID, and you'll notice that this is pop-up 1022. And I've got the contact ID, last name, first name, middle initial, and the address name that that contact is associated with. So let's say though that I want something like the address's phone number in my pop-up. I'm going to go ahead and click Close on the pop-up. I'm going to go over to User Pop-up Maintenance and type in 1022. And you'll see you've got a window where you can go ahead and change the underlying definition of your pop-up. You have access, if the data is in the Carillon database, you have access to it in pop-ups. So for inventory pop-ups, it's going to be common for classes to be added or many other fields that are in inventory item maintenance. we have one client that sells wines. They're going to want to go ahead. They might want to go ahead and put producer and vintage and bottle size and some other things in their pop-up, so it makes it easier for them to pick a bottle of wine that a client might want to buy. But to get back to where I was talking about, I'm going to go ahead and add a field. I'm going to add a sixth column. So I'm going to put my cursor in this mixed case, hit Tab Delete to add a row. So I'm going to add row 6, and I want to add the phone number. So I'm going to go ahead and jump down to the P's, hit phone, and actually I need to type in a C because in Carillon it's called a central phone number. So I'm going to choose the central phone number. I could change the width of the column. We'll see if it looks okay. And most phone numbers probably, if they have letters in them, if they're international, they should probably be uppercase. So I've added a 6-column central phone number, uppercase, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And this takes effect immediately. I'm going to show you how to change a pop-up for a whole organization by going into Site Pop-up Maintenance. So I'm going to go ahead and select Pop-up 1022. I'm going to go ahead and add a new row and choose my central phone number. And we'll go with the standard width. If I need to make it wider, I can do that. If for some reason I had a phone number that had letters in it, so maybe some international something or another, I can go ahead and indicate that I want those to be uppercase. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I get an update was successful. Go back to contact maintenance and double click, and you'll see that I now have central phone number in my pop-up. So it's very easy for you to delete columns, add columns, or change the order of columns in your pop-up.
Make sure to visit Carillon's redesigned website. For a free personalized demo of Carillon ERP, please call the sales department at 1-800-739-9933.